The moment you start doubting yourself, your whole life begins to feel heavy, not because you are weak, but because you forgot how strong you truly are. Let me tell you something real. The biggest battles in life are not outside of you. They are inside your mind. And the truth is, most people don't fail because they can't do something. They fail because they don't believe they can. Today, I want to share a powerful story. A story of a poor boy. A boy who had nothing. No money, no support, no comfort. Only dreams and self-doubt. But one day, he stopped doubting himself. And that decision changed everything. This is the story that might change your life too, so listen closely, because you may see yourself in it. His name was Arman. Arman was born in a small, broken neighborhood where people didn't dream big, because dreaming big felt dangerous. Most families there were just trying to survive. His house was made of old bricks. Rainwater leaked through the roof. There were nights his mother would pretend she already ate, just so Arman could have the last piece of bread. His father worked long hours doing small labor jobs. Some days he returned with money, some days with nothing. And every time, Arman looked around. He saw the same message written on people's faces. This is all life will ever be. But Arman was different. Even though he had nothing, he had something inside him, a fire. A quiet voice that said, "There has to be more than this." When he was a child, he used to sit outside at night, staring at the city lights far away. And he would imagine a better life, stronger life. A life where his mother wouldn't cry silently in the dark. A life where he could stand tall. But the world didn't let him dream easily. At school, kids made fun of him. They laughed at his torn shoes. They mocked his old backpack. One boy once said, "Arman, you're poor. People like you never become anything." That sentence stayed with him. Not because it was true, but because part of him feared it might be. Self-doubt is like poison. It doesn't kill you instantly. It slowly eats your confidence. Day by day, until you stop trying. Arman was smart, but he was quiet, because deep inside, he didn't believe he belonged. Every time he raised his hand, he would hear a voice whisper, "What if you're wrong?" Every time he wanted to dream, he would hear another voice, "What if you fail?" That's the power of doubt. It doesn't need chains. It becomes the prison. One evening, Arman came home and saw his father sitting silently. His hands were dirty, his eyes tired. His father looked up and said, "Arman, I lost the job today." The room went quiet. His mother didn't speak. She just turned away to hide tears. Arman felt something break inside. Not anger, not sadness. Something deeper, a realization. If he stayed the same, nothing would ever change. That night, he couldn't sleep.
He stared at the ceiling, listening to rain falling through the roof. And he thought, how to escape this life? But then doubt returned. Who are you to escape? Who are you to succeed? And for the first time, Arman almost believed that voice. The next day, at school, there was an announcement, a scholarship competition. One student would receive full support, books, tuition, everything. A chance to study in a good college. Arman's heart raced. This was it. This could change his life. But then, self-doubt whispered again. You're not good enough. You're not like them. You'll embarrass yourself. Arman didn't apply. He stayed silent. Weeks passed, and every day he regretted it more. One afternoon, his teacher stopped him after class. She looked at him carefully. Arman, why didn't you apply? I looked down. I'm not the kind of person who wins things like that. His teacher's eyes softened. Who told you that? Arman didn't answer. She leaned closer and said, let me tell you something. The only difference between the ones who succeed and the ones who don't is belief. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Stop doubting yourself, because the world will doubt you enough already. Those words hit him like lightning. That night, Arman sat alone, and he realized something painful. His biggest enemy was not poverty. It was the voice in his head, the voice that kept saying, you can't. So Arman made a decision. A simple decision. Not to become perfect, not to become fearless, but to stop listening to doubt. He started waking up early. He studied with borrowed books, or worked part-time after school. He got tired. He failed tests. Some days he wanted to quit, but every time doubt spoke, he answered back, "I'm still going." That's what strong people do. They don't wait for confidence. They move forward without it. Slowly, Arman began changing. Not outside. Inside. His posture changed. His eyes changed. He began believing, maybe I do belong. Maybe I can. And if you're enjoying this story so far, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to English. Another scholarship opportunity came. This time, Arman applied. His hands shook when he submitted the form, not because he was weak, but because courage feels like fear with action. The day of the competition arrived. The hall was full of rich students, clean uniforms, confident smiles. Arman sat quietly. His shoes were still old, his clothes still simple, but something was different now. He no longer saw himself as less. He saw himself as hungry, and hunger is powerful. The test began. Questions were hard. His mind panicked. Doubt returned instantly. "You don't belong here." But Arman closed his eyes for a second and whispered, "I'm not here because I'm lucky. I'm here because I worked." He continued, "One question at a time, one breath at a time." Days later, the results were posted. Arman walked slowly to the board, his heart pounding. He expected disappointment, but then he saw it. His name at the top. Arman froze. It didn't feel real. Students stared. Teachers smiled. His teacher hugged him tightly. "I told you." That day, Arman ran home. He burst through the door. "Mom?" His mother looked up scared. He held the paper. E1. His mother's hands covered her mouth. Tears fell instantly. His father stood up slowly, and for the first time, Arman saw pride in his father's eyes. That night, they didn't have a feast. They didn't have luxury, but they had something greater. Hoba Arman left for college months later. New city, new people, new challenges, and doubt didn't disappear. It still came. But now Arman understood something. Doubt is not a stop sign. It's a test. Every successful person feels doubt. They just don't obey it. Arman worked harder than everyone. He failed again. He struggled again. But he never stopped. Years passed, and that poor boy became a strong man, not because life became easy, but because he became stronger. One day, he returned to his old neighborhood. The same broken roads, the same small houses, and children playing outside. A young boy looked at him and asked, "Sir, how did you become successful?" Arman smiled softly and said, "I stopped doubting myself. That's it. That's this secret. Not magic. Not luck. Not talent. Belief. Because the moment you stop doubting yourself is the moment life starts opening doors. So let me ask you, how long will you keep holding yourself back? How long will you listen to that voice saying, you're not good enough? You can't. You'll fail. Stop. You are stronger than you think. You have something inside you, and your story is not over. Your comeback is not finished. Your breakthrough is still ahead. If this story touched you, drop a comment below telling me what you're working through right now. And don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to stop doubting themselves too. This is English, and your strength is waiting. Keep going. Arman's life changed after that scholarship, but let me tell you something important. Winning was not the end. It was only the beginning, because most people think success is a straight road. They think once you escape poverty, once you achieve something, life becomes easy. But real life doesn't work like that. Sometimes, the higher you climb, the louder doubt becomes. When Arman entered college, everything felt. The campus was huge. The students were confident. They spoke English fluently. They dressed like they belonged there. Arman walked through the hallways feeling small. That old voice returned again. What are you doing here? You don't belong. These people are better than you. The first week, he barely spoke. He sat in the back of every class. He listened more than he talked. Not because he didn't know, but because fear was still living inside him. One night, he sat alone in his dorm room. He looked at the books, the assignments, the pressure, and for the first time in months, he felt the weight again. He whispered to himself, what if I fail now? What if I disappoint everyone? That's the thing about doubt. It always comes back, right when you're about to level up. Arman was surrounded by opportunity, but inside, he was still fighting the same war. A war against his own mind. One day, in class, a professor asked a question. Arman knew the answer. His heart raced. His hands slowly lifted. Then, stop. That voice again. What if he sounds stupid? What if they laugh? So he lowered his hand. Another student answered confidently. The professor smiled. Arman felt something deep inside. Regret. Because the truth is, self-doubt doesn't just hurt you. It steals from you. It steals your moments. It steals your chances. It steals your voice. That afternoon, Arman walked outside and sat under a tree. He watched other students laughing, talking freely, living like they had no fear. And he realized they were not smarter than him. They were not better than him. They were just less afraid to try. And suddenly, a thought hit him. Maybe confidence isn't something you have. Maybe it's something you choose. That night, Arman opened his notebook. He wrote one sentence. I will not stay silent anymore. The next day, he forced himself to sit in the front row. It felt uncomfortable. His anxiety screamed, but hissed to Jed. The professor asked another question. Arman's hands shook, but he raised it anyway. His voice was quiet, but he spoke. The room didn't laugh. Nobody mocked him. The professor nodded. Correct. That moment, it was small, but something huge happened inside Arman. A piece of doubt broke. Because every time you face fear, you weaken Italiana. Every time you speak, you grow stronger. Weeks passed. Arman kept pushing. He joined study groups. He asked questions. He failed sometimes. But he didn't disappear anymore. And slowly, he started to realize something life-changing. You don't become strong first, then take action. You take action. And strength is built inside you, but the journey wasn't easy. One semester, Arman hit his lowest point. His father fell sick back home. Medical bills came. His mother called crying. Arman, we don't know what to do. Arman felt helpless. He had no money, no power. That night, he stared at the floor for hours, and doubt came louder than ever. This is why you should stop dreaming. You can't win. You will always be poor. For the first time in a long time, Arman wanted to quit. He thought about leaving college, working full-time, giving up the dream. Because sometimes life hits you when you're already tired. But then, Arman remembered something. He remembered the nights in the broken house. He remembered his mother sacrificing food. He remembered the scholarship. He remembered his father's proud eyes. And he whispered, I didn't come this far to return to darkness. That night, he made another decision. He got a part-time job. He worked late shifts. He studied at night. His body was exhausted. His mind was heavy. But he kept moving, because resilience isn't loud. It's quiet persistence. Months later, his father recovered. They survived, and Arman grew even stronger. Then something unexpected happened. Arman was selected for a leadership program. Only a few students were chosen. He couldn't believe it. Old Arman would have said, "They made a mistake." But new Arman said, "Maybe I earned this." That program changed his life. He met mentors. He learned confidence. He learned speaking. He learned discipline. And one mentor told him something powerful. "Arman, your past is not your limitation. It's your fuel." Those words burned inside him. Arman started giving speeches. At first, his voice shook, but he spoke anyway. He told his story. A poor boy, full of doubt, who decided to keep going, and something amazing happened. People listened. People related. People felt inspired. For the first time, Arman realized his pain had purpose. Years later, Arman graduated, not just with a degree, but with a new identity. He was no longer the boy who doubted himself. He was the man who proved doubt wrong. He got a job in the city, a real job, a salary, a future. The first paycheck, he held it in his hands and cried. Because it wasn't just money. It was proof that his life changed. He sent most of it home. His mother called him, her voice shaking. "My son, you did it." Arman whispered, "No, Mom, we did it." But the greatest moment came later. Arman returned home again. He walked into the old neighborhood. People stared. The boy with torn shoes was now walking with strength. Children gathered around him, and Arman sat with them. He looked into their eyes and saw himself. One boy asked, "Sir, how do I stop feeling like I'm nothing?" Arman then said softly, "Listen to me. You are not nothing. You are not your circumstances. You are not your fear. You become what you believe. Stop doubting yourself, because the world will try to write your story, but you hold the pen." That boy's eyes filled with tears, and Arman knew this was bigger than success. This was impact. So if you're listening right now, let me speak directly to you. You may feel behind. You may feel afraid. You may feel like you're not good enough. But hear this clearly. The strongest version of you is waiting on the other side of belief. Stop doubting yourself. Start showing up. Start trying. Start moving. Even if your voice shakes. Even if fear is loud. Because one day you will look back and realize the moment you stopped doubting was the moment you became unstoppable. If this story inspired you, write in the comments, "I believe in myself," and share this with someone who needs to hear it. This is Englishshortandstories, and your journey is just beginning. Keep going. Arman thought he had finally escaped the worst part of life. But life has a strange way of testing you again, right when you start believing you've made it. Because success is not a finish line. It's a new level, and every new level demands a new version of you. After graduation, Arman stepped into the real world, a world that didn't care about his past, a world that didn't reward effort. Only results. His first job was in a tall glass building. People walked fast. Everyone looked confident. Everyone spoke like they had control. But inside, Arman still felt like that poor boy sometimes. The boy with torn shoes, just wearing a suit now. He sat at his desk on the first day, surrounded by professionals. And Dao whispered again, "They'll figure out you don't belong. You're not as smart as them. You're just lucky." That's what doubt does. Even when you win, it tries to convince you that you didn't earn it. Arman worked harder than anyone. Estagit latte. He showed up early. He wanted to prove himself, not to others, but to the voice inside him. Months passed. He started gaining respect. His boss noticed him. His coworkers started trusting him. For the first time, Arman felt stable. Like maybe he was finally safe. Then one day, everything changed. The company faced financial problems. People started getting laid off. One morning, Arman walked into the office and saw faces full of fear. His manager called him in. Arman's heart dropped. He sat down. The manager sighed. "Arman, you've done great work, but we have to let you go." It felt like the floor disappeared. Just like that, the job was gone. The security was gone. The future felt uncertain again. Arman walked out holding a small box of his things. The city looked colder. The sky looked heavier. And for the first time in years, he felt that old hopelessness return. That night, he sat alone in his apartment. Silence filled the room, and doubt screamed louder than ever. "See, you knew this would happen. You were never meant to succeed. You're back where you started." Arman stared at the wall for hours, his chest tight, his mind racing. And for a moment, e believed Italiano, because setbacks have a special power. They make you forget how far you've come. They make you think the struggle was pointless. But then, Arman remembered something. He remembered the boy he used to be. Poor, hungry, afraid. And he realized, back then, he had nothing, but he still kept going. So why would he stop now, when he had already proven he was capable? Arman stood up. He looked into the mirror and said out loud, "I am not going back. This setback is not my ending." He didn't fully believe it yet, but he said it anyway. Because sometimes, you speak strength before you feel it. The next morning, Arman made a choice. Not to collapse, but to rebuild. He started applying for jobs. Dozens. Hundreds. Rejections came. Emails sawing, "We chose someone else. We're moving forward without you." Each rejection hit hard, and doubt returned every time. "You're not enough." But Arman kept moving. One day, he met his old mentor for coffee. The mentor listened quietly, then said something Arman would never forget. "Arman, the world doesn't destroy you. Doubt does. The only people who lose are the ones who stop. Pain is part of the process. But quitting is a decision." Those words stayed with him. Arman walked home thinking deeply. And suddenly, a new dream began growing inside him. A bigger dream. What if he didn't just work for someone else? What if he built something of his own? It sounded crazy, and immediately doubt attacked. You build something. You came from nothing. You don't have money. You don't have connections. But then Arman smiled slightly, because that voice was familiar, and he finally knew the truth. Doubt always appears right before transformation. Arman started small. He began learning new skills online, read books. He watched videos. He studied entrepreneurship. He worked from a small laptop in his apartment. Some nights, he barely slept. Some days he felt lost, but he stayed consistent. Slowly, he began freelancing. Small projects at first. Tiny income, but something bigger was happening. He was building belief. 1 year passed. Arman wasn't rich, but he wasn't broken. He kept growing. Then, something incredible happened. A client loved his work. That client recommended him to others. Opportunities started coming. Arman began earning more than he ever earned at his job. And one day, he hired his first employee. He sat back in his chair, in disbelief. The poor boy, who once doubted. Everything was now creating jobs for others. But life wasn't done testing him. Because with growth comes pressure. The business faced challenges. Some clients left. Payments were delayed. Arman felt stress again. That voice returned. You're going to lose it all. But Arman was different now. He didn't panic. He didn't run. He whispered calmly, I've survived worse. That is strength. Not never falling, but never staying down. Years later, Arman became successful. Not just financially, but mentally. He was free. Free from the chains of doubt. He bought a small house for his parents. The day his mother walked into it, she cried uncontrollably. She touched the clean walls, the safe roof, and whispered, My son, you changed our story. Arman held her hand. No, Mom, I changed my mind first. Because that's where every comeback begins. Not outside. Inside, Arman began speaking at schools, telling students the truth. He would stand on stage and say, I was once the kid you ignored. The kid you laughed at. The kid who thought he was nothing. But I made one decision. I stopped doubting myself. And every student listened. Because deep down, everyone knows what it feels like. To question yourself, to feel small, to feel behind. So, if you're listening right now, let this hit your heart. Your current situation is not your final destination. Your struggles are not your identity. Your doubt is not truth. It's just noise. The real you is stronger than the fear. You don't need permission to believe. You don't need proof to start. You just need courage to take the next step. Because one day, people will look at you and ask, how did you do it? And you will smile and say, I stopped doubting myself. If this message is speaking to you, drop a comment right now. I will not give up. And share this video with someone who needs hope today. This is Englishshortandstories, and your story is still being written. Keep going. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Arman's story became something people admired. But the truth is, he never saw himself as special. He wasn't born powerful. He wasn't born fearless. He was just a boy who kept going while doubting himself. And that's why his story matters. Because if Arman could rise, so can you. One evening, years later, Arman sat alone on a balcony in the city. The skyline was glowing. The world looked peaceful. But inside, he was thinking. He wasn't thinking about money. He wasn't thinking about success. He was thinking about the past. The boy with torn shoes. The hungry nights. The fear. The shame. The doubt. And he realized something deep. The hardest part of his journey was never poverty. It was never the lack of resources. It was the lack of belief. Because millions of people have dreams, but only a few have the courage to believe those dreams are possible. Arman remembered the exact moments doubt almost won. The scholarship he almost didn't apply for. The times he stayed silent in class. The nights he wanted to quit college. The day he lost his job. The months of rejection. The fear of failure. And yet, here he was. Not because life became easy, but because he refused to stay down. That's the secret. Life doesn't reward people who never fall. Life rewards the ones who fall and rise again. The next week, Arman returned to the school he once attended. The same building, the same worn-out desks, the same hallways where kids once laughed at him. The principal invited him to speak. Arman stood on stage. He looked out at hundreds of students, and for a second, he saw himself in them. The quiet kid in the back, the girl who feels invisible, the boy who thinks he's not enough. Arman took a deep breath and began. I want to tell you something. I was once sitting where you are. I was the kid people ignored, the kid people doubted, the kid who doubted himself the most. The room went silent. Arman continued. I grew up poor. I had nights with no food. I had shoes with holes. And I believed that meant I was less than everyone else. He paused, then said, But listen to me carefully. The world will always try to label you. They will call you too poor, too weak, too behind, not smart enough. But those labels are lies, unless you accept them. Because the moment you believe you are nothing, you become nothing. And the moment you believe you can rise, you begin rising. One student raised a hand. A boy, nervous. Sir, what if I fail? Arman smiled softly. What if you do? He stepped closer. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. He looked around the room. The real failure is quitting. Another student asked, What if people laugh at me? Arman nodded. They will. They laughed at me too. But you know what? They stopped laughing. When I stopped stopping, people laugh at the beginning, and they applaud at the end. Don't live for their approval. Live for your purpose. That day, Arman finished his speech with one final truth. You don't become strong when life is easy. You become strong when life gives you every reason to stop. And you keep going anyway. The students stood up. Applause filled the room. Some teachers had tears in their eyes, and Arman felt something he never felt before. Peace. Not because he proved others wrong, but because he proved himself right. That night, Arman walked outside. He saw a young boy waiting near the gate. The boy looked nervous. Sir! Arman knelt down. Yes. The boy whispered. I feel like I'm nothing. Arman's heart tightened. He looked into the boy's eyes and saw his past. Arman placed a hand on his shoulder. Listen, you are not nothing. You are not your situation. You are not your fear. You are not what people say. You are what you decide. He pointed gently to the boy's chest. There is something powerful inside you, but doubt is trying to bury it. Don't let it. The boy's eyes filled with tears. How do I stop doubting? Arman answered softly. One step, one day, one decision. You don't defeat doubt by waiting. You defeat doubt by moving, even when you're afraid. The boy nodded slowly, and Arman knew that moment mattered more than money, more than success. Because impact is the highest form of strength. So now, let me speak to you. The person listening right now. Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you feel behind. Maybe you feel like others are winning, and you are falling apart. Maybe you keep questioning yourself, thinking, what if I'm not good enough? Let me tell you something real. You are not finished. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are in the middle of becoming. And the pain you feel is proof that you still care. Stop doubting yourself, not because life will suddenly become easy, but because you were never meant to stay small. The dream inside you was given to you for a reason, and your future is waiting. On the other side of belief, one day, if you keep going, you will look back at this moment, the moment you almost quit, the moment you almost gave up, and you will realize that was the moment that built you. That was the moment you became strong. So promise yourself today, I will not stop. I will not quit. I will not listen to doubt, because your story will inspire someone else someday. If this story moved you, comment below. I believe in myself now, and share this video with someone who needs hope today. This is Englishshortandstories. And remember, your life can change the moment you stop doubting yourself. Keep going. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.